is an extraordinary person.
They were all staring, weren't they? I can tell even if I can't see, and I heard the word fat, and ugly.
It is important to make new friends in court, is it not?
You're so beautiful. Stop it, you mock me. If I were a man, I would ravish you.
You have become close to Abigail.
She is a viper.
You're jealous.
Let's shoot something.
It was hilarious and completely original. And then meeting Yorgos after having seen a little bit of his work, it was a no-brainer to want to be a part of it.
The script had tonal shifts in the way that the film does. So at moments it was historical drama, very seriously so. At moments it was absurd. At moments it was very funny and ridiculous. And other moments it was a love story. It was heartbreaking. So I think the script contained the tonal shifts that the film does, but I couldn't have imagined them as Yorgos Lanthimos finally painted them.
I loved the script so much, really wanted to play her. The fact that she goes through every human emotion. I mean, what fun, all in one job. Yeah, so it was a definite yes.
Dearest Queen, how goes the kingdom?
I was just immediately intrigued just by this story and the fact that it was three women that at some point in time had such power, which is rare to read about or see on film or anywhere. Also the fact that it was a period film and I hadn't done one, I was interested in, seeing how that would work and would affect things. And of course, I got really involved with it, and we spent many years developing it. So after working a little bit with the original writer, then we searched for another writer that would bring a very different voice to it that I had in mind, and which was Tony McNamara, and I developed it with him for 7-8 years until we reached a point where we felt comfortable with what we have, and went ahead and made it.
I apologize for my appearance. I hoped I might be employed here by you as something.
A monster for the children to play with, perhaps.
You don't really see very often three roles like this for women who are so sort of, flawed and funny and complicated. You kind of wish to find a role that has that much going on.
There are huge things at stake, and vast political power comes as a consequence of befriending or becoming the lover of the Queen. So obviously I could connect with having very strong female friendships, but I had to use my imagination to imagine that I would have immense power. I mean, Lady Marlborough is basically running England. So she loves the Queen, but the Queen is the country and the country is the Queen. So they're the one and the same. So I suspect there'll be people that will see the film and think that I only love the Queen because she's the Queen. But I would disagree.
Who did your makeup?
We went for something dramatic. Do you like it?
You look like a badger.
Oh.
Are you going to cry? Really? Well, what do you think you look like?
Badger.
Do you really think you can meet the Russian delegation looking like that?
No.
I will manage it. Go back to your rooms.
I like to find something that I haven't done before, just because that's why I became an actress, to be as many different things as possible. And this does have everything I want in one place. But also the three women being the main characters, which, does happen and has happened, not often enough, considering, 51% of the population is female. But that was just so exciting that these three women are the ones in charge and manipulating each other and pulling the strings.
Sometimes a lady likes to have some fun.
We wanted to write these women as very, complex, so that you wouldn't be really able to tell what their character is in the first 2 minutes, that they go through a journey, they change, you understand different things about them as the film progresses. I think that helps as well. So at any given moment, you don't know who the villain is and who the nice person is, and it all changes around between them.
He makes kind of a real cocktail of things. It's never I mean, if it's earnest and people are bearing their heart, he'll very quickly undercut that with some humour. So I think it's very exciting to be part of his films and to watch them, and that you're never completely safely in some comfortable zone. You're always going to be swept along to something else very unexpected.
For the first 30 pages or so, I was like, well, she's just this sweet kind of, she's taking care of everybody. And then as it unfolded, I realized that was going to be the great fun of, every scene. She evolves more and more and has a lot of darkness in her and a lot of survival tactics that are questionable, probably, at best.
Are you following me? I said, are you following me?
You seem to be following me, sir, as I am in front of you.
That was you I saw on the horse this morning.
I'm a servant. Where would I get a horse? Perhaps you dreamt of me.
Perhaps it was you, and I should have you stripped and whipped.
I'm waiting.
Well, Yorgos had a great kind of process where we rehearsed together for 3 weeks. The entire cast rehearsed together for 3 weeks, and we did a lot of crazy things. We had a choreographer in named Constanza, who was the woman who choreographed that amazing dance between Joe and Rachel. And we did a lot of exercises and kind of humiliated ourselves in front of each other very early on.
2 or 3 weeks of being in the same room and just proper old-fashioned theatre games where you're holding hands with each other and you've got to say your lines but tie yourselves in a knot and unravel, and just really giggly and silly. And once you've done all of that, you can't be embarrassed in front of each other.
We just had so much fun together that it was, it was almost hilarious when we had to do these kind of horrible things to each other, because afterwards, I mean, especially Olivia, I'm sorry, oh no. Especially with Rachel. When Rachel is heartbroken, it killed Olivia. It really killed her in real life.
You are mad. Giving me a palace. It is a monstrous extravagance, Mrs. Molly. We are at war.
We won.
Oh, it is not over. We must continue.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yorgos isn't really a huge explainer. He's not, he definitely doesn't go into big kind of diatribes about the character and what he's seeing and all of this. He sort of trusts the actors to do their thing after the rehearsal process, and then just kind of tells you if it's not correct. And so, which I love. I mean, I don't mind not going into, long discussions about the motivations of each person, because in life we don't do that with each other. I don't know what makes everybody, in the room tick. So it's fun to kind of explore that on your own and then just be set back on course if you're way off.
He has a very distinctive cinematic language which he never translates into conversation. He keeps it. Either he doesn't want to, or he's just not interested in it. He doesn't discuss anything. His vision stays. His vision is. It's not something that he talks about or examines or analyzes. He doesn't talk to you about, things that most directors might talk to you about, your motivation or your psychology. He just doesn't ever go into that terrain, but he directs you meticulously. So it's a very unusual process. Everything goes onto the screen and into the story, and he's never analysed it. I think possibly he thinks that when actors become aware of what it is they're doing, it loses its immediacy and its spontaneity. And I think he's probably right.
How good to see you've returned from hell. I'm sure you shall pass through it one day.
What I love about him is he doesn't blow any smoke up anyone's bum. And, so it's very clear. And he goes, yeah, great, moving on. So that's, hooray, he's clearly very happy. No, do it again. He's not a big smiler, but he is a big-hearted, warm man, and he loved these three characters, and he is a sort of enabler. So he makes you feel safe, he makes you, what do you think? Great, do it. So all of us, we wanted to get a little bit of a smile and a thumbs up. And it was this healthy competition, I suppose, between, did you make him smile? Well done.
Did you just look at me? Did you? Look at me! Look at me! How dare you!
with this film to make these three women quite different as well. I mean, they're written quite different, but I also think we managed to make them look quite different despite being limited by period. And again, we took liberties there. There's a lot of pants wearing and things like that, or quite contemporary-looking 90s for the Queen. But I think they're done also in a subtle way at the same time. It doesn't take your attention out of the film, but subconsciously, I think it does affect the way you view it.
I lucked out a bit because I was wearing a lot of 90s and dressing gowns, very comfy, slopping around the place. But Rachel and them had to wear, the corsets, and that makes you stand in a certain way. You could try to slouch, but you can't do it. So there's that. You have that physicality.
It's definitely not a dusty museum piece where there's a kind of subservient, mirroring of the period. The costumes are, for instance, all black and white in two palettes, and the servants are in denim, which I don't think existed in the early 18th century. But yes, there's a lot of physicality. There's a big dance scene that my character's involved in shooting. Lady Marlborough likes to shoot pheasant I earlier made it slip. I was like, shoot peasant. And I thought, actually, that's probably accurate too.
It was also really fascinating to watch the way that he was shooting it. It was very interesting to see what angles he was choosing on each character, how we were all shot a little bit differently. I noticed him getting really close up to my face and doing shots in scenes where I didn't say anything, and that was surprising to me because, it's not in the script that Abigail is watching this whole thing unfold and we're gonna sit with her for a moment. Or, that's one example, but there were many examples with all of us where it was just something so unique in the fisheye. And so that was pretty entrancing on set, just watching that process and how he composes all of the shots.
When we started trying out those fisheye lenses, they reminded me of those convex mirrors that you see in 17th century painting even. The Dutch painters that used to have those mirrors somewhere in the back, and you could see the whole space reflected, distorted in there. So at the same time, it felt that it wasn't out of period, seeing images like that in such a setting.
The art department were incredible, and I didn't realise, but one of the art department said, when Sarah's looking after the Queen, all of the snacks in the room are very healthy. There's nuts and dried fruit and things. And when Abigail's looking after her, there's cake and sugared things and hot chocolate. There's a little for anyone who's a bit of a film nerd will notice which one's the right one to be looking after the Queen.
None for the Queen. What? Well, you cannot have hot chocolate. Your stomach. The sugar inflames it.
Abigail, hand me that cup.
Do not.
I'm sorry. I do not know what to do.
Oh, fine. Give it to her. And then you can get a bucket and a mop for the aftermath.
To never be on set and always be on location was incredible. And also, as the only American in the cast, this wasn't part of my history. I hadn't done a kind of historical period drama before, as I think most British actors have done at least one. And it was really special to be in Hatfield House or to be wearing, these incredible costumes by Sandy Powell. It was just, I had never operated in that time period before because obviously in America, we weren't even a country in that time period. So it was a big learning curve but it was gorgeous to, look up and see that gold ceiling or this amazing, to know that Queen Anne's actual throne was sitting in one of the rooms.
One of the reasons that I was interested in this film is that the fact that it felt relevant no matter what the period was, it felt relevant to today as well. And I think in order to do that, you need to shed a lot of the specificities that might, limit its resonance. I think in every part of the process, we try to focus on the important stuff. And if the actual story doesn't give us what we need, we also invented a lot of things. So this film is not extremely loyal, historically speaking. We never intended to make a history lesson through this film. So we were inspired by these people and what happened and various events and information that we had. But then we had to invent a lot of things in order to construct the film in a way that it was relevant in many different ways.
I'd like to enjoy the music now.
They are all sort of, passionate about each other, loving each other and hiding things. It's nothing new. And these women could be almost set in any period, which is the unusual thing about, I think, what Yorgos has done. He's sort of turned period drama on its head.